Some of Miami's top performances have come from players you probably didn't expect. Who's raised their stock the most?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC, a brand new mobile game that's completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. On this loaded Truth Teller Tuesday episode of Locked On Canes, we are going to get into any critiques that we have on the team so far, things we need to sharpen up before the schedule gets tougher again. We will talk about the culture that Mario Cristobal has implemented here at the University of Miami, and we're going to start off with Miami Hurricane players, new and older, who have raised their stock. And Bruce Warner, the Truth Teller, is with us. I want to start with some of these true freshmen. 22 of them got playing time against FAMU. 5 of them got playing time, some significant, against Florida the opening week. Which of these young guys, class of 2024, have raised their stock the most?
Well, let me just start out by saying I was on a cruise last week, and I was representing you every day of the week. I didn't see any Florida hats or T-shirts. I didn't see any Florida State crap. It was all about I got a bunch of this. And 2 people knew who I was. One recognized my voice, and another one, I don't know, whatever it was. I maybe said something to him. So it was great. I was boasting the whole week on this ship. It was awesome. I loved it. Who's raising their stock? Probably every one of the 22. These kids played. Obviously, we saw when we were there in the spring, Pruitt. Pruitt looked really good. And his pick was he dropped back in coverage. So did Hayes. He dropped back in his coverage. You got to love Jordan Lyle. Justin Scott got a sack. I told you guys he was going to be in the 2 deep. He's good. I think that all these kids that got in. I saw number 44. What's his last name again?
Cole McConaughey.
McConaughey, that's his name.
Got in. He played well. That's Ruben Bain's protege. Got in there and played well.
Yes, he was really good. There's other guys where you're going to talk about who improved their stock. Obviously, Tyler Barron. Oh my God, he looks just like Jason Taylor coming off the edge. His stock, wherever it was from Tennessee, is way up here now. Cam Ward raised his stock for a kid that was considering the draft. Look what he's doing. He looks great.
The one that I know,
the whole damn thing.
Well, here's the one that we also have to bring up. OJ Frederic, Bruce, in the defensive backfield. He started both games. He played 29 snaps against Florida, played 38 snaps against FAMU. That's a lot of snaps for a true freshman. He's grading out very well. Had a Pro Football Focus grade this past week of over 74. And it's like to have a true freshman be in that position, playing such prominent reps, it's not something you usually see for successful teams around the country. But what we kept seeing from OJ Frederic in practices, what we kept hearing about him during fall camp was this guy has the poise and the physicality of a sophomore or a junior, that he doesn't process or play like a true freshman.
There was one play like on the right sideline. He just got his hand up in the air and he batted it down. And, those are the things that we haven't seen around here in a long time. Defensive backs actually in a position to do things like that. Now, we had a few breakdowns. We're going to get to the negativity.
Yeah.
But I don't know what was happening. First of all, that quarterback got out of trouble a few times. And then he made some plays with his feet. He threw the ball nicely. Guys were wide open. That I don't know. I'd have to find out from the coaches what really happened there. You could see, and I said it when I was on the ship watching the game, Mario was – the girl on the sideline you said P.O., he was pissed off. Let's put it that way. And they got it at halftime, and they came out with a whole different mindset. That's the mindset they have to play with every week. You just can't look ahead. Everybody's already projecting the playoffs. One game at a time. You got to follow Mario's guidance. One game at a time.
Yeah, it's like, Bruce, I brought this up in yesterday's episode that, okay, Miami is in the top 10 now, 10th ranked team in the country, which is it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time Miami finished a season inside the Associated Press top 10 was way back in 2003.
Yep.
Not about being in the top 10 heading into week 3. It's nice. Back in 2017, Miami was actually number 2 in the college playoff ranking right after they beat Notre Dame, but then the wheels fell off after that. I'm looking at how this team finishes is just how you measure success. But when it comes to raising stock, Bruce, let's talk about some of the veteran players. Like you mentioned Tyler Barron, who's been Miami's defensive MVP so far. And
wow. Yeah, he's great.
A lot of him. We expect a lot of him, but I would say he's raised his stock because I don't think anyone expected him to be this good. But in terms of guys we didn't necessarily know what to expect from, how about Jaden Harris?
Yeah, I mentioned that. I mentioned his name off the air a few minutes ago to you. He's all over the field. He's everywhere. He's on every tackle. He's down the field. He's at the line of scrimmage. He's blitzing. He's everywhere. That kid is very talented. He's really good. What is he, a sophomore? A redshirt sophomore?
He's a redshirt sophomore. Yeah.
Poof. He's got a lot of talent. Look, there's talent everywhere in his team.
Yeah.
I really didn't know what to expect from Mark Fletcher. He looks pretty locked in. He looks pretty good. He's going over the top. He busted through for a touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns. Look, it's kind of hard to complain about any of this stuff. I know people are complaining about Sam Brown. I have a friend of mine who texted me while I was watching the game. He stinks. Get him out of there. He's good, but I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know whether
the weird thing. I want to give Brown some props in this regard. Like he's in both games. He's as a receiver, he's left plays on the field. Like he should have had a deep catch in the FAMU game that he couldn't hold on to. But a lot of the big plays that Miami's made, he's making big blocks. So I know like Brown is doing a lot of like the little things that fans may not notice and don't turn up on the stat sheet. But at the same time, I fully acknowledge he's got to be more consistent in making big plays as a receiver. Because I mean, that is something when it comes to making big plays in the passing game, Isaiah Horton has absolutely outplayed him so far. Absolutely. Bingo. But so we need to see more consistency from Brown. He's blocking well, which is an important part of a wide receiver's game. But obviously, you're a receiver. You need to make receptions.
Look at the tight end play. Arroyo caught 1 ball, but McCormick caught a ball. What's his name?
Cam McCormick.
He caught a touchdown on a little floating pass. Emery Williams caught one down the middle for a big gain. And we got to see Elijah Lofton in the game. He didn't do much, but you just look at the size of this kid. He's only a true freshman. So I love how the offense looks much, 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 much better, much more efficient. As I said, saying it for months, who's going to stop this offense? We could stop themselves, but that's pretty much it. And defensively, we don't have Bain. Yeah. We don't have Brown. And can you imagine how good Barron would be if Bain is on the other side getting double teamed? Or if they decide to double team Barron because of what he's doing, Bain's going to be running around. So again, and we saw Blunt got in the game, Armando got in there. We saw, as we said, Justin Scott got in the game. A lot of these kids, and look how slim Moulton looks. He lost that big gut he had. So you gotta love what they're doing. They got gashed when the quarterback was able to take off and run, but our run defense is seemingly pretty damn good. And then we have Ball State coming in this week. I think it's a 3:30 game, and that's they're honoring the '89 national championship team. So I'll be down there, and I'll see all these guys. Those are the guys I know the most. I'm closest with that group. But you got to be happy, and you got to give Mario props. You have to. You can't sit here and bitch and complain how much money he got, and he stinks. Now, in a big picture, you saw what had to be done, except on a day-to-day basis from 2 years ago. It's kind of hard to see big picture. All we all know is that they were 12-13, and it seemed like he was a terrible coach, and everything was down the toilet, and he was Didn't you tell me that other than Florida's coach, he was like one of the top 3 or 4 on the hot seat before the season started? I bet you he's not on the hot seat anymore.
Yeah, I mean that I think I told you that based on that wasn't my opinion, but it was based on an article
Something
that
you
was
read. Yeah, I
written
know that.
that had him like right up there, which I didn't agree with that because we see what he's building at Miami, but yeah, people from the outside looking in say, well, it's 12-13, he must be on the hot seat, but yeah, he's getting right off that alleged hot seat now.
Yeah, and look, our special teams are doing pretty well. There's some disappointments. I mean, I think you agree. I'm not sure what Ray has been doing. He doesn't seem to have that burst that I thought he was going to have. He looks a little thick, if you ask me. Thought he was very skinny last year, and now he's thicker, but he hasn't done much. I think maybe Nod Carr and some of these other guys might be ahead of him.
Well, we'll talk more about it. We're going to have some Canes critiques later on in the show. I do want to, something Bruce and I have talked about so much on and off the show is Miami's culture.
Oh,
Mario
yeah.
Cristobal had some interesting comments about that. Plus, a position change that seems to have happened on the team. We'll get to it. And clarification on Emery Williams and why we're not going to see him much on the field this year. So, folks, you know what you want to do? You want to keep it locked. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I'm only getting started on this new game that is sweeping the nation. If you're a college football fan, you're going to love this and you're going to get addicted to it as I have. It's called Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes or the loafers of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of your Miami Hurricanes? From recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during games. If you think you can do better than the play caller, you get your opportunity, and your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but it will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want to, when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Canes fans. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk as it's going to get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For the everydayers, take that everydayer experience to the next level by signing up for our Locked On Canes Insiders texting service. Click the link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours and vice versa with breaking news, recruiting scoops. Sometimes I put the bat signal out for you guys' opinions. Check it out. Try it free for 14 days. Then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. Will give you a lot of added value there on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. A lot of added value when the truth teller, who is back, joins us here on Locked On Canes. So Mario Cristobal said this, Bruce, Monday about Miami's culture. The best thing we have going for us is our culture. It allows us to be very blunt, real, and right to the point. There are no easy games on our schedule, and anyone who thinks otherwise will be disappointed one day. Stay hungry, stay driven. The most important game of the year is at 3:30 on Saturday, and we're looking forward to it. So this is the type of message, Bruce, you need out there. Miami are 36.5-point favorites against Ball State. No one is bringing that up inside that locker room, Bruce. They need to be, and they are approaching Ball State as if it's the Alabama Crimson Tide this week.
Well, we all know, and if you don't know, you should know that Saturday afternoon at halftime, they're honoring the 1989 and Dennis Erickson's national championship team, of which I'll be with those guys because I sit in the former players suite. Those guys are going to be around. The players on the field know those guys are there.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything to upset these guys because this is their third national title. They won in 83, 87, 89, 91. So those guys will be there. They'll be in the stands. They'll be on the field before the game. And they're locked in for this game. Then you've got a tough one at South Florida. Now, they played Alabama tough last year and this year. So that's not a piece of cake. And then we could be 4-0 like we were last year, and we get into the ACC schedule with Virginia Tech on a Friday night. Okay. And that starts it. We can't look at them and say, well, they're supposed to be good. They have a loss. We had that with Georgia Tech last year. And I know that this team will be locked in. I said all along, you were with me a few months ago. We went down there. The culture was different. We saw guys make a 3-yard square out catch, and all the receivers are jumping up and down like they made that play. They are so locked in. They are so motivated. They all bought in to this culture. And that's what, and I think the leader of this is not Mario. I think it's Ward. They love this guy.
Yeah.
He takes everything so seriously, and he's so focused. He doesn't want to come out of the game. They had to force him out.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a week or so ago, I watched the replay of the game. It was halftime against the Gators. He's still looking at his whatever that tablet. He's looking at the tablet saying, and they go, come on, let's go. It's halftime. He goes, oh, okay. And then he went in the locker room. He's laser focused. So I think the culture is the way it should be. I think we have more talent than anybody we play this year. We should not lose. I remember before we left, I said 12-0. I said, well, maybe I won't be such a jerk about it. I'll say 11-1. But I believe 12-0 is very possible. 1 week at a time, including Louisville. As good as they may be, they shouldn't be on the field with us either, because we lost to them last year. We should have revenge on Georgia Tech, Louisville. We should beat the snot out of Florida State. I can't say ASS anymore. I could say kick their butt. But the bottom line is that it's up to our own team to get through this season to reach their goals. I don't think anybody should be beating us unless we're just not prepared. And I find that hard to believe. I just do. Meanwhile, when I was on the ship, it was great because I walked around with all this Miami gear, and I'm proud of it. I felt very proud.
Absolutely.
Very proud. Because if we would have lost to Florida, I don't know what because all I have is Miami stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say, what would you have packed for your trip? Because you don't have any you're like me. I've 90% of my clothing is Miami gear. I don't know what I would do.
Well, my casual stuff. I mean, I have stuff for court and shirts and ties and things like that. True. But I don't have that many things. I have one Tears for Fears t-shirt. I don't know what I don't know. What
you would have been wearing suits. You would have been dressed for court on the ship.
Yeah, I could have worn a tie and a jacket in the pool. But anyway, it was so great to walk around with this. I was so proud of us. And so, yeah. And now it's on to Ball State here. And then we go to USF. And I didn't really watch their game against Bama. I don't really care. I just think it
was close for over 3 quarters.
Yes,
like
and then they got blown out in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
yeah. That was what happened. Now, a couple of points of clarification that we saw from Miami's coaches as we head into this Ball State game. It has been confirmed by Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson. As Bruce, we expected this. We talked about this. Emery Williams is redshirting this year. That's it's why he hasn't got into games yet. Obviously, if they really need him at any point throughout the season, he can play in up to 4 games without burning the red shirt, but they're not going to play him unless they absolutely need to, I believe. Right. So
he can't get hurt. He can't get hurt.
Right.
He just can't.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And that doesn't mean he's the starter next year. He probably might be Poffenbarger.
Yeah, but I do think just based on the way that that everything played out in fall camp, Emery Williams might have been the second quarterback if not for the fact that they want to redshirt him because he played and competed very well. I think it was very close between him and Reese Poffenbarger, but Emery might have been the backup if he wasn't redshirting this year. So that was clarified to us. Also, this was actually confirmed by the player himself or reported by the player himself before the coaches confirmed it. Robbie Washington, formerly a wide receiver, he's made the switch to defensive back. Lance Guidry talked about his versatility, that he can play multiple positions at DB. Cristobal talked about, the work that he got some work in high school at defensive back and really excelled there. In fact, they believe that he can be a very good future defensive back. Guidry said, I don't know how much he's going to play this year because he's,
Right.
learning a new position, but I think DB long term, that's probably the move for Robbie Washington, and it's probably the spot that gives him the best opportunity to make it to the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is a hitter. He's well built.
Yeah.
I think that if you look at some of the players we've talked about, these guys that have done well or haven't done that well, it's kind of hard to find people that haven't done well. The offensive line, Markel Bell played because Rivers was hurt. I didn't even know he was hurt. If he's hurt, he's
I didn't know
slightly
either.
hurt.
Before the game, I was borrowing Bo Healy's binoculars, and I'm looking at that's Jalen Rivers in street clothes, but
Yeah,
I don't
street
think
clothes.
it's nothing serious though.
No, nothing serious. That was the game he doesn't need to get re-injured in or whatever. So I agree with all this. I don't think we're going to see Bain or Brown this week either, but they'll be ready for the South Florida game. They will, I believe they'll be there in Tampa, and then they'll be ready for the ACC season, which is great because everybody remembers 4-0 and then the bottom dropped out. So if we are 4-0 and we're playing Virginia Tech, you better believe we're going to be jacked. It's a home game at night. We will be, that stadium will be rocking, and I predict we blow them out. I think, and I'm glad I said these things so nobody could say, gee, Bruce, now you jumped on the bandwagon after they blew out Florida. No, I told everybody months ago, I think we're going to blow them out.
You did.
And we did. They're not that bad. They're not that good either. They're better off with this Lagway kid at quarterback, but still, there's problems there, and there's more problems in Tallahassee. And if you want to talk about that, we have a few minutes. We could talk about that. I don't know what's going on.
They're losing recruits too, left and right.
Yeah, right. They're losing recruits, which they haven't done that well to begin with. And now the two defensive linemen and a running back are out the door, and they've only played 2 games.
Yeah.
They're down 2 in the ACC already. I'm not saying they're finished.
By the way, here's a stat for you. Florida State is in ACC history, they are the very first 17th place in the ACC, because remember the ACC just expanded with 3 extra teams. They are the first team to ever be 17th place in the ACC. So congratulations, making history.
Yeah, Cal won. Cal could beat them too. I don't know how good they are. I don't really know how those teams are. Everybody's talking about Virginia Tech as a possible team that could upset us. I don't see it at all. Again,
they lost to Vanderbilt.
I'm looking at the entire roster, not just the starters, but when you look at the depth. Remember 2 years ago, I was screaming, "Where's the D tackles?" And look at our defensive line now. What a difference! And the offensive line is massive, and the running game. You bring in Martinez. He looks good, but there's no drop off when you bring in Mark Fletcher.
None.
And then AJ Allen got in the game, had some nice little burst runs. And then Jordan Lyle, the upside for this kid. And then they bring in Chris Johnson, and he caught a touchdown pass. Yeah. And then Wheatley Humphrey got in the game, did a little bit. The beauty of this is that any way you twist and turn, whatever names, you could pull them out of a hat blindly. There's so many weapons on this team, and you have the perfect guy at quarterback. This kid just wants to win. He's so laser focused. If we didn't get him, I don't know where this team would be. He really is. And we talked about it. Who really is the glue for this team? He is. When they got him, all bets are off. Mario said, I got to load this team up. They went out and they did it in Florida and Florida State. That's another thing. Look at the arrogance of Clemson and Florida State of filing a lawsuit against the AC, mostly because they thought they were the top of the tier, top of the league, and we deserve more money. We need a higher percentage. Look at them now. They look like jerks. and I'm not so sure the officiating isn't against them. I don't know. But I don't really know. But they look really bad against Boston College, and Georgia Tech threw 16 passes and still killed them because they ran it down their throats.
And then Georgia Tech didn't play that well against Georgia State. They just lost to Syracuse. But when we come back, I want to talk about any critiques we have. Obviously, Miami's off to a very good start, 2-0. Dominant win over Florida, dominant win over Florida A&M, but what needs to get sharpened? We'll get to that and so much more. You want to keep it locked. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Oh, guys, I am certainly not done with 5 Hour Energy. Folks, this is my magic elixir that helps me get through football season. I stay up late to watch these primetime games. I wake up very, very early in the morning every single day. I am smashing these 5 Hour Energy shots, and they make me feel so good with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, which is my personal favorite, berry is awesome, and so much more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com. Get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th. On one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin, who hosts that show, does an awesome job talking about all the big wins, all the crazy upsets, like Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame. Yeah, Spencer's got you covered on Locked On College Football. Like this show, it's available free wherever you get your podcasts, and it's available free on YouTube. We got the truth teller with us. All right, so we need some of that truth serum, Bruce. If we can open up the opportunity to nitpick, what haven't you liked about the season so far from Miami?
I can't say much. I guess I still have secondary concerns. This kid got out of the pocket a few times, which is, I don't know if people got out of their rush lanes, didn't have gap integrity. I don't know. I know that Mario was not happy with that. The secondary mistakes, there was like 2 or 3 blown plays. I don't know, again, what happened, but some of these guys were wide open. That's pretty much it. It really is. It's pretty much it. I kind of want to know if you had any thoughts on the recent comments about Pickett. Maybe, he went to the Florida game and then he shows up down here. And, and also I saw somebody made a comment that they've crystal ball cannon Pickett to Miami.
Yes.
Gee, you know what? They could take all the credit they want. We said this months ago.
Yeah, we already did that. We already crystal balled Cannon to Miami.
Yeah, we did that. We did that months ago. So these guys can take whatever credit they want. Yeah. But we were the ones that said it. Anyway, I hope they get a shot at this kid. He's going to sit there and wait. He's got more LSU visits. But if LSU loses another game or two, or Brian Kelly starts getting heat, because I've said all along, I think he's a jerk. And it may cost him Booker Pickett, JD Pickett. Yeah, it may cost. I hope so. There really is not much to be upset about. I love that all these young kids are getting action. And I think they're still finding out who can do what. We'll probably see this again Saturday with mass substitutions. Guys that are, I don't even know how much. I guess they'll go 3 quarters with Cam Ward again, and then let Poffenberg. He's got to get some reps. He's got to be able to get reps where maybe he's got to throw the ball, and he just can't hand it off 20 times to end the game. So I want to see the tight ends more involved. I like Arroyo, but only 1 catch. Not thrilled about that. And I want to see Sam Brown catch the damn ball.
So something I want to see is like I think there was one good return that Chris Johnson had in the last game, but I want to see a little bit more like flipping the field on special teams. I want to see more big returns in the kicks and punts. I think they've left some of those on the table so far, save for maybe one or 2 plays thus far. I want to see more from the return game. And again, like you talk about how valuable it was to get so many backups into the game against Florida A&M. Hopefully
Right.
you're going to have the same opportunity this week. Cause when Miami had some issues defensively in the second quarter of the Florida A&M game, a lot of backups had already rotated in.
Right.
And so that was where, like, you saw the drop off where, and these are talented players, but just the communication is not the same and the consistency is not the same. So I think it's important to get these guys more playing time so that your backups get sharper. And then just in general, Bruce, you want to have the type of focus where when you're playing against a lesser opponent, you don't take them lightly for even a quarter or for a half of the game. Because I think you and I both went into halftime against FAMU feeling very underwhelmed.
Right.
They picked it back up in the second half and they played great. But,
Mhm.
you can't, like, when you're playing against better teams, you can't have, a quarter and a half of mental lapse, or you could lose games because of that. So when we need to see that focus.
Here's what I like. In many of the games that we lost in the last several years, I don't remember too many halftime adjustments. Look what happened at North Carolina last year.
Oh,
They couldn't right that ship. And look, we were losing to Middle Tennessee State a couple of years ago. Couldn't change that. And all those bad losses. Well, this year they go in the locker room. I don't know what he said. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. They came out and they just took over. That's what you want. You want adjustments. I hadn't really seen many adjustments. So Mario made the adjustments. The position coaches made adjustments, and they went out there and executed. You want to be able to do that. So they weren't playing great, and then they kicked it up a notch. I don't know about Ball State. I don't know how much they respect them. I hope it's a better game, and then they got to go on the road to South Florida and play.
Yeah.
I don't know who they play this week, but they're still tough. They have talent, and that'll be a big trigger game going into Georgia Tech, which I'm sure Mario is going to have that team cranked up another level because that's the ACC.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. Well, we appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to Locked On Canes. If you listen to the audio version, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. And Bruce, thank you so much for bringing it this week.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love doing this show with you. And, the weird thing, when I was on radio for 20-something years, when the teams were winning, there wasn't much to complain about. When the Dolphins started losing, when Shula was there, I was saying, get rid of him, whatever. But there's a lot of controversy when you don't play well. There's a lot less when they win. So there's not as much to complain about or talk about. But listen, we talked about things all off season. If this, if that, and everything's happening the way I had thought and had hoped would happen. And so I'm happy to be a Cane. All you fans out there should be happy. There's not much to complain about. You can complain about me if you want, which is normal, but you can't say I didn't say this. You cannot say I didn't tell you guys this. I knew it, and you knew it too.
Yeah.
The togetherness on this team was incredible in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if there is anything to complain about, we'll figure it out before next time. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.